read the statement of the Attorney General as it pertains to the Prime Minister's political act of announcing the commencement of a system of free movement of persons from Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent into Barbados, with the promise of the grant of citizenship after 6 months of residency in Barbados. What the Attorney General has said is nothing more than a feeble, desperate, and embarrassed attempt to cover what must now be the Prime Minister's own embarrassment. We reiterate that the Prime Minister has absolutely no legal power to usher in a system that has no parliamentary approval. We reiterate also that the Minister of Immigration's trip to the airport last week, purportedly in supervision of this scheme, is nothing more than a farcical ministerial errand. We in the Democratic Labour Party absolutely reject the Attorney General's contention that the legal authority for this scheme already exists within the Immigration Act. This is a dangerously misleading legal error. We invite the learned Attorney General to identify any stipulation in the existing Immigration Act that validates this scheme. We must remind Barbadians that a scheme to enfranchise visitors with citizenship after only 6 months of residency so fundamentally alters the laws of Barbados that it cannot be done by prime ministerial announcement or ministerial discretion. We say that the Attorney General is now weaving a tangled web as the government attempts to extricate itself from a wild initiative that has offended the Constitution, the authority of the Parliament of Barbados, and the rule of law that limits the authority of the government and all public officials. It needs to be plainly said to the Prime Minister of Barbados that she cannot rule Barbados by arbitrary political edict. The Prime Minister's October 1st initiative is nothing more than an arbitrary, vainglorious, and reckless political act that deeply offends against constitutional rule, the authority of Parliament, and the rule of law. We remind the Prime Minister that contrary to what she said, there can be no transition phase prior to parliamentary legislation of this scheme. The Attorney General's erroneous legal opinion cannot be the antidote that cures the wrong that the Prime Minister committed last week. The statement of the Attorney General further deepens our concern that this government intends no obedience to the Constitution of Barbados. We remind the government that in recent times, there already has been the movement of labor into Barbados, except that it could only have been conducted in accordance with the limited conditions allowed by the existing laws. We in the Democratic Labour Party have, however, questioned the social and economic impact of that migration of labor to the detriment of the Barbadian labour market and to our society as a whole. Those are matters for which the Prime Minister and the Minister of Immigration must ultimately give account to the workers of Barbados. It is appalling that the Attorney General would concede that, and I quote, "The Chief Parliamentary Council is finalizing a bill to be laid in Parliament this week, which will seek to codify the arrangements that have been put in place in order for Barbados to honor its agreements made with other sovereign regional states," unquote. In spite of his concession that the necessary law has not been passed, the learned Attorney General still seeks to validate an invalid scheme. What is more egregious is that the legislation is to be referred to a joint select committee for public involvement on the issue. Did not the Attorney General hear us say in our media conference that no other sovereign state can legislate for Barbados? Does not the Attorney General understand that any agreement with any other state does not become the law of Barbados until Parliament legislates it into local law? If the Attorney General understands this, he must now have the courage to give this good legal advice to an errant Prime Minister. This constrains us to conclude that this illegal administrative rush in contravention of the laws of Barbados has more to do with padding the voters' list in time for an election and less to do with the noble objectives of regional integration. We again extend legal advice to the various departments of government, including the Immigration Department, the Barbados Revenue Authority, and the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that their paramount obedience is to the laws of Barbados and that they must resist this illegal initiative of a renegade cabinet. It is embarrassingly ironic that all this is happening during a week in which the Parliament of Barbados is hosting the 68th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association that must now observe the descent of our democratic traditions into dictatorship. This is not a happy day for freedom, democracy, and justice in Barbados. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one vision, one people, one destiny. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. Yeah. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. Yeah. He crossed the floor not for fame or glory. He crossed the floor to rewrite the story. These people vex the country tight. Ralphie step up to set things right. From Christchurch East to St. Lucie, everybody know he stand for we. He watch them laws line by line. Yeah. He said follow the law, not the head lady. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. One vision, one people, one destiny. We all in this with Ralphie. He crossed the floor to unite the country. So everybody sing in harmony. We all in this with Ralphie. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. Hey, hey. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. Hey, hey, hey. He said to the house, how you getting this? Watching the chaos parliament in a twist. One member while another talk too fast. Ralphie step in makes sense last. The people laugh, they clap, they grin. Cause Ralphie sharp, he know how to win. The law and logic, he keep them tight. He bring order to the parliament fight. Hey. R-A-L-P-H-I-E. We all in this with Ralphie. R-A-L-P-H-I-E. Stand up tall for unity. He tell the PM you head the cabinet, not the state. So respect the law before it's too late. The legal business done on the floor, not in your mind behind closed door. He cool, collected, full of class. He use the facts and bust up, she bubble fast. He shaving down falsehood, clean and neat. Ralphie drop logic on every seat. Tourism built it, bill, now this new move. Free movement by imagination to prove no legislation to pass immigration. Gated, you telling visitors come citizens.
Good evening, Barbados. Welcome to DLP TV, Honest Voices for the People. I also want to say good night to all those persons joining us in the region and the wider diaspora. Good night. It is so good to see you again. What you would have just watched is our leader, Ralph Thorne, responding to the Attorney General's pronouncement that the initiative for freedom of movement is on solid legal ground. Well, we do not agree with that. And we ask you to join us tonight where we ask a simple but powerful question. Can Barbados still feed itself? Food security isn't just about crops, it's about our independence, our cost of living, and the dignity of every Barbadian family. Under Minister Indar Weir, agriculture has suffered from broken promises, unfinished irrigation systems, poor planning, and neglect. The result, our farmers are struggling. Our import bill is growing, and our people are paying more for food every single day. With me tonight are 4 voices from the Democratic Labour Party who understand what rebuilding Barbados truly means. So, to introduce my esteemed panel, to my right, first, Mr. Paul Gibson, spokesperson on environment and candidate for St. James Central. To his right, Amoy Gilding-Bourne, attorney at law, spokesperson on agriculture, and candidate for Christchurch East.
Good night.
To her right, another attorney at law, fellow counsel, Simon Clarke, spokesperson on community development and candidate for St. Philip North. And next to Simon is Mr. David Waldron, my partner in crime, I must say, candidate for St. James North. St. George North, sorry, my apologies. So, Ladies and gentlemen, we want to highlight the current agriculture situation in Barbados. We realize that this government has waxed poetic about food security, but yet in their speaking, their actions do not align with what they say. So the first initiative we're going to look at is the failed sweet potato export promise. In May 2024, Minister Weir announced that Barbados would export 1 million kilograms of sweet potatoes to the UK. Today, there have been no shipments, no contracts, no payments to farmers. What does this tell us about this government's approach to agriculture and food security? I'm going to pass that question on to you, Paul.
Well, first of all, good evening, Barbados. Good evening, DLP family. Good evening, viewers. We have been saying for a long time that there is a level of impotence that exists in the agricultural ministry in respect to the plans. The promises are empty. The fields are empty, and the minister continues to make a lot of promises and say a lot, but does not produce a lot. What particularly comes to mind, Fanus, is when he says that he's going to create a program called the FEED program, which is the Farm Empowerment Enfranchisement Drive program, where he was supposed to be, the objective of that was supposed to be feeding Barbados by putting farmers into fields to grow food. And to date, they have trained something like 1,400 farmers. Only 30% of those farmers are actually doing any farming. And what has happened now with the increase of water, the price of water from 66 cents per cubic meter to 180 per cubic meter, a lot of farmers have decided, look, farming is really too expensive for me. And they increase those prices on the BMAC properties, the same place that they're being trained. So there's no benefit to his promises. There's no benefit to his initiative. There's no benefit to Barbadians. So another failed promise from the Minister of Agriculture.
Amoy.
But just to jump in there with respect to these sweet potatoes, well, we can't export what we can't grow, and we can't grow what we can't water. Water scarcity is a real issue for farmers. With respect to these sweet potatoes, he said, well, a billion kilograms to the UK. That's delusional. It really is delusional. And it just goes to show that these ideas are misplaced. They're not thought through, and they're just clickbait. You see him taking pictures all the time, but where's the substance? I don't know. This agriculture in Barbados is in a horrible state, and agriculture is the engine of the nation. This is how we are supposed to be feeding our people. And I go back to Guyana and P.T. Burnham all the time. If we do not produce, we will perish. So every time you turn around, you pass some agricultural land that's being used for housing. It's being used for non-agricultural purposes. And yes, growing our own food is lovely, but sweet potatoes, last year we had a hell of a time with sweet potatoes, with the sweet potato slips that were having rot issues. We had to resort to lab-grown sweet potato slips. I don't know if he has really thought out this idea with the 1 million, was it 1 billion? 1 billion, 1 million pounds of sweet potatoes, he says. And then recently, we were discussing earlier about this agreement that he's making with CARICOM now with something similar.
That's right.
But we have to deal with our home drums first. Home drums beat first. We have to be able to feed ourselves before we can think about exporting. I mean, that's just my 2 cents in relation to the sweet potato part. That's only one of the projects that have failed out of many. We can add the black belly sheep project to that as well too.
Simon.
Yes, good evening to all viewers. I want to start by saying that agriculture is just not a sector. it is the heart and soul of our nation. It
Correct.
is the foundation upon which our early success was built,
Mhm,
and we still see a decline through the years in recent times.
mhm.
They promised us that they would export these sweet potatoes. It was supposed to go to the UK and by extension the world, so that one could view our local product here in Barbados. A beautiful product may that be. I love a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Everyone know that I live in the rural part of Barbados.
Mhm,
Love a true sweet potato.
mhm,
So I love to wash up my potatoes, Paul,
mhm,
and get them into the pot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that people in the UK would enjoy those sweet potatoes too.
mhm.
But yet, we still see a failed promise from this government. They have continued to fail Barbadians in all aspects. And what I can say, there's no growth and development whatsoever coming in agriculture. And can we, Fanus, put this sweet potatoes export in the walk back group too as well? Can we?
Can we?
Yeah,
Yes.
Evening, David.
I agree.
Then again, this government was never serious about agriculture. From the time you take a travel agent to run agriculture, you're obviously not serious about agriculture. And it has a history. This has a history of neglecting agriculture. Remember, some years ago, a Barbados Labour Party government was going to sell the headquarters of agriculture to be a water park. I don't want Barbados to forget that. So clearly, historically, this government never cared about agriculture. And the farmers are just being held as scapegoats with promises that are basically impossible to follow through on. Because if you're going to ask the farmers to produce 1 million pounds of potatoes and they can't get the water supply, and you're raising the cost of water on them, you are putting them into a losing situation. It is too expensive. Agriculture in Barbados is too expensive. And unless the Democratic Labour Party, when it takes over this country, come with a solution for agriculture, we will continue to be scapegoats in this region, because Barbados is not producing enough of its own food. And in my mind, that is a danger to food security.
Simon,
Yes.
I want to come to you.
Yes.
I want to come to you. As a man who's heavily involved in the community,
Yes.
someone comes to you, you as a farmer, they just put on your farming hat
Yes.
for the moment. A government official comes to you, makes a promise, well, listen, we're going to roll out this initiative.
Yes.
We want you to produce this particular crop for us. Sign the we're going to produce your contracts. We're going to put some money in your pocket.
Yes.
And you're waiting. You've spent your money. You've gone out, probably taken a loan. You've bought the equipment. You've done the planting and everything, and yet the initiative fails. Tell me how that erodes. Tell me about the trust that probably has eroded in the community, especially in the farming community.
Indeed, I would feel very disappointed. Agnes. Until you come to me, I would look at the agribusiness. Agribusiness, I would start looking at farm raw materials to the consumer. So I would go just the persons in St. John. We had about 35 persons in the community who were interested in the Phoenix project up there. I would get my community members together. I believe in community development, so get my community members together, and I would start looking at agribusiness. And when I say agribusiness, I would start looking at the raw materials, start looking at the slips, start to look at what will make these potatoes beautiful and lovely. Because you know sometimes they have some issues with potatoes. So what one make potatoes sustainable?
Market
I'll look at
quality.
the growth, development, yes, and what the market quality of these potatoes, the different types of potatoes, what the market is looking for. So I would definitely look into agribusiness as a young person, looking at getting into the sweet potato export business.
Amoy, as someone who actively engaged in farming, tell us about the strain, the financial strain it puts on a farmer when he goes out or she goes out to bring forth and produce a crop, and yet they're not getting the support that they need from a government. What does that do to that particular farmer?
It kills the spirit. It really does. Farming is a labor of love. And there's planning that goes into farming. But there are also things that happen that we cannot account for. When I think about pretty larceny, I work up at Spencer's. The young lady that lost her entire crop, she spelled out exactly how it is. She has to feed her family. She has bills. She has financial responsibilities. She still got to pay back the BA, the MC for seeds too. And how is she supposed to manage when this is happening to her? And then on the other side, no, and you're farming, and you have no water. How are we supposed to provide the sweet potatoes? How are we supposed to provide the melons? How are we supposed to provide the produce that the nation needs to be able to feed itself? Far less exporting, which is a laudable goal that we would love to get to at some point, but we're not there. Right now, we are in crisis. Our agricultural industry is in crisis. It's not just an agricultural crisis or farming crisis, it's a national crisis. It is. So it is heartbreaking when you break your back, you toil, you get up at 4 a.m., you do what you have to do. Some farmers also have staunch jobs, like myself. So you're working, you're farming, and you're trying to make ends meet. And unfortunately, with the high cost of living in Barbados, the high cost of feed, cost of molasses, the lack of water, the lack of resources, it is really, really, really a toll on farmers, some of whom have unfortunately given up.
Paul, let's focus on the water scarcity issue.
Yes.
We're finding that there have been a lot of complaints from farmers. They're saying that they're not getting the water and the proper irrigation that they need to these crops to grow. Amoy said earlier, you can't grow crops if you don't have water.
Mm-hmm.
So where is this government's head when it comes to providing the necessary?
I could tell you already.
Then I'll come back to you with water. But where is this government's head? Because obviously crops can't grow without water.
Right. You know, I've been saying, and the DLP has been saying, and calling on the government, and reminding them that Barbados is a water scarce country. And we are having gallons and gallons of water every year run off from our high points straight down the hill, taking all the topsoil and into the ocean. The DLP proposed earlier in the year that we create a damming system in Barbados, where when we know that hurricanes are coming, we would have already prepared dams like what happens in Jamaica. There's something called a Mona Dam, and there are millions of gallons of water that falls from the sky, but is captured runs into that facility, and then is taken through a process of purification. That purification from the rainwater can actually be used in agriculture very effectively, and even in some potable water for domestic use, wedding plants and so on. But unfortunately, the government is bereft of ideas, and we are seeing it when we look at the central bank report, which shows that there was a time when it was we were making $101 million, and that has now dropped $47 million from where it was before. So we're not growing up. We're coming down. The government is losing money for non-sugar agriculture, and it's a reality, and it's connected with the availability of the poor soils that we have, the poor soils, the poor water capture. We are training farmers, but we're not allowing them to communicate with the ministry in an effective and timely way that would allow us to respond. Allow the government to respond to their needs. The farmers are really desperate for communication with the ministry, and the ministry continues to fail them with water, poor land, land with a lot of with oil in it, in case of Gibbon's bog, and we continue to see that the output from the earth is decreasing annually, $47 million. Indar Weir is not doing well. He's not doing well, and we need to tell him that. I'm not sure why the Prime Minister has not shifted him to something else, but
totally.
Well, I don't want to tell him what to do, but I know what we need. We know what needs to happen. But for sure, something is wrong. Why is he still in that ministry? He's a failure.
So let me direct this question then to my comrade here, David. Why is he still in that ministry?
Say that again.
Why is he still in that ministry?
Why is he still in that ministry? Sometimes I wonder if this political thing is a game. Like, cause people ask me these questions. Right? We're talking about water. Paul talked about damming water. Yes, they have a dam at Lears. Captures a lot of water. This government came up with the idea of using sewage water. Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
This government came up with the idea of using sewage water. And one of the primary reasons for this sewage water is to use in agriculture. Now, let me tell you something about that, right? Very often you listen to some crops being recalled in the States. You know why those crops are recalled? In many, many instances, because of outbreaks of salmonella.
Fecal bacteria.
Fecal bacteria. Why would I want to irrigate crops with sewage water? Yes, it's the balance you have to have. From the time you go out of balance, you're going to make a lot of people sick. The Democratic Party had a plan that was to establish these plants to do seawater. They call it
Desalination.
desalination plants.
Yes, right.
We are surrounded by water. Take the salt out of the water, and we have water. We have more water than we can use. So the reality here is that this government shelved the desalination plans that they have put in place to come up with a plan to give us sewage water to irrigate our plants. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah,
But the day that sewage water is not balanced well, the day the bacteria levels go too high, and that sewage plant, they're just gonna be living on toilets. Dehydrating, and all the pharmacists will have okay. That is the reality. This government has no original ideas. I am sure the idea of this sewage plant, this tertiary level sewage plant, was not homegrown. And I'm going to keep saying all the time that a lot of the ideas that are brought to this island, a lot of the ideas that come through Parliament are not homegrown. They're not ideas that this cabinet sat, discussed, and came up with. And that's why Barbadians are always going to be dissatisfied with decisions made by this government, especially laws being passed. Because a lot of these ideas are not homegrown. So the reality, agriculture has to suffer because there's no real plan for agriculture in Barbados. Everything about agriculture in regards to the Barbados Labour Party is mere academic. It's mere reading and regurgitating and trying to impress people that they know what they want to do for agriculture. But they don't. They clearly don't. Agriculture is in crisis, as Amoy would have said earlier. It's serious crisis.
I agree. Just to add on to that, actions speak louder than words. And we are continually seeing this government use agricultural land for non-agricultural purposes. We saw the acreage of land that they recently used to do the roundabout down at Waterford. Everywhere you go, you see arable agricultural land either being turned in for housing, being turned into roads, being put for some concrete jungle. Let's just use that colloquial term. And it's killing us. It really is harming agriculture. And I laugh when I heard the minister say, "Oh, agriculture is not going to be hurt by the implementation of housing, and housing is important." Nobody is denying that housing is not important. Housing is important, but it should not come to the detriment of agriculture.
So actually, we're going to focus on that now in regards to the amount of arable land that's being taken up by this government and then being repurposed for housing. I want to draw attention to especially the ridiculous notion of the 5-acre roundabout. And then recently we saw that There was land at Newton that they're looking to repurpose, which is actually historic ground as well. And I think it sits on the water table. So, David, what is this government doing with our land?
Damien, honestly, I have so much legs to turn this government over the change of use of agricultural land in Barbados. And like you said, the very recent one is 5 acres of land to build a roundabout. Obviously, the minister at that time had an idea for that land that wasn't roundabout. Because if you take 5 acres of land and you use the corner of that land for a roundabout, you still left with enough land to build a housing project. These people are doing everything to take land out of agriculture. If you go across Christchurch, every other plantation in Christchurch is a housing project. They're taking land. This government, this particular government, has taken quite a bit of agricultural land out of agriculture. And as I said, they clearly have no plan for agriculture. We are settling as a people. That's why elections is very important. We are settling as a people for a government that is saying to us that it is better to import food and build houses. Makes no sense. Food security. You see, the day that the Americans down there in Venezuela and all this issue with the situation they built up in Venezuela, suppose this thing goes out of control, something happens. How are we going to be fed? How are the people of this country going to be fed? Because we depend on food coming across the waters. The majority of our food come across the water. Just imagine a skirmish breaks out in the Caribbean. We're going to have to eat one another. We'll be forced to eat one another. Because the reality is that we are playing it so dangerous as far as food security and Barbados is concerned. And I don't think the agents themselves are taking it serious. We are not taking it serious because the reality is that we need to start planting food. This country was built on agriculture. That's correct. A lot of poor people in Barbados build bungalows out of agriculture. And now we are abandoning the very ladder that we use to step up in life. We are abandoning the very template that we use to step up in life. Because somehow somebody has the idea that we don't need agriculture, that we can farm out of a container. Silly. We can farm out of a container. I got news for the person that said we can farm out of a container. I understand container farming. There is no better food than food that grows in soil. Why? Soil has in it certain minerals, certain microbes, beneficial microbes that help to add the nutrients to the food itself. So the reality of growing out of a container means you still got important nutrients.
Yeah, and not only that too, to add what you're saying, the container farming is not going to facilitate the farming of produce that we traditionally eat in the Caribbean. Yam, cassava, dasheen, potato, squash. You try growing that in a freight container. I mean, asparagus is nice, but it's not gonna cut it. You know, it's not gonna cut it. I think we can add that also to one of the failed initiatives or misplaced priorities for the current administration, who needs to start planting food. But unfortunately, we're in 2025 and it's less than 23% of land that we have for agricultural purposes in Barbados. So where are we planting this food? We need to start planting. Same thing with the sugar. Where are we planting the sugar cane?
Just to touch on what David said just now. David, you agree with me that 5 acres of land at Windsor was very productive and were used for many years in relation to agriculture. We understand that the road infrastructure is very important, right? As it relates to road safety and managing traffic and stuff. But it's 5 acres that I'm talking about in relation to a roundabout. 5 acres that can be used for productive agriculture. It is a serious concern, especially among the residents in St. George, who said have built bungalows, and work hard and tirelessly in Barbados. And they just said that they could do it, build a roundabout, no public consultation whatsoever. That cannot be fair to the residents of St. George. Yeah, I'm saying it's not fair. There should be a public consultation to the residents of St. George, as well as the farmers that use that land for many years. With respect to being fair to those residents in St. George.
And you make a good point, Simon, because has there been a feasibility study done? Because traffic in that area real bad.
Very bad. Right.
And I don't know if is this roundabout going to add to the traffic? Is it going to assist? I mean, you might think it's a roundabout, so it's going to add to help with the flow of traffic, but that's not always true. We've seen that in many places.
And let me kill the roundabout discussion. I can tell you what. It is clear that a roundabout does not need 5 acres of land.
Positively clear.
And I also mentioned on this program that the large roundabouts in Barbados have the most accidents. Because you give people too much room, they don't know what's roundabout, the little circles. Very bad, they slow you down. And you take your time and you go around and no accident occurs. So the reality is that the minister who announced this thing about 5 acres of land, you're making sport with people, brother. You are making sport with Barbadians. You think we are stupid? The reality is that no roundabout in Barbados needs 5 acres of land. You obviously have another plan for the land. Come and tell the truth. You're going to take more agricultural land out of production because you have no interest in agriculture. And that's the truth about this Barbados Labour Party government. We have to be very careful. As I said before, we cannot allow agriculture to die in Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party, it has a plan. We can't say everything on TV because we have a plan for agriculture in Barbados. And the truth is, this government has none.
I'm going to read some of the comments here now from our contributing guests. I believe this is Zitot. What happened to the cows that came in on the first class flight?
This was the last set or the ones that came in 2015, because we don't know if they had any, we don't know if the heifers, they came in pregnant, we don't know if the heifers had young, we don't know if there was any improvement in livestock, we don't know if there was any improvement in the farm, we don't know. We've been left hanging, sort of like with the Black Belly Sheep Project. A lot of questions are still being asked, and we don't know where we can go to find critical information that we would like to see. So we don't have an answer for you, sir. We don't know either. No. But we would like to find out, maybe the powers that be can hear us and tell us what became of those heifers.
We have another comment here from Comrade Owen Bob. Has 4 square greenhouses been taken over by the BADMC at the cost of $10,000 a month? Have they been cleaned up by the BADMC but are not being used up to today, 6 months later? So it shows that there is a mismanagement of proper resources in regards to this government. This government seems to do a lot of mismanagement in regards to resources. I want to stay on this topic, but I want to focus on what this government also pushes out to the international community. Whenever the Prime Minister flies out, she talks about food security. And then she talks about the climate change and how it affects food security. We saw recently that COVID had disrupted a lot of supply lines in regards to imported food and stuff like that. But yet, you would think that after COVID, you would want to invest more in homegrown food and not take the land and repurpose it just for homes. And then now, a 5-acre roundabout. This government's priorities seem to be mixed up. Paul, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I see, and I keep hearing that we will produce more food. We will produce more food. And one of the things we're seeing, and Amoy made note of it, we are using land for the wrong thing. We used to have a situation in Barbados where chickens would cost, I think chicken was like 100. Well, the price went up to 75 The price of chicken went from $132 to $281, right? A very significant increase in costs. Why am I bringing that to our attention here? Because the reality is we're talking about feeding Barbadians. Before, a mother could put a meal together with some chicken wings or chicken backs or whatever. And the cost of chicken is getting so high now because of the inputs into agriculture. We mentioned water. We mentioned the cost of feeds as one issue. The other issue that we're facing, and for some reason I'm trying to figure out why we're doing this. We say we have a pork industry. We say we have a chicken industry. But yet, the Minister of Agriculture is issuing licenses for large companies to import chicken and pork and have our farmers struggling to get their pork off or have to sell it at a very, very low cost. So in terms of food security, and this is what this is all about, we are missing the boat. We are spending more time on optical labels about not too much salt and too much sugar and so on, but we're not saying let's feed people, give people an opportunity to eat properly. Let them buy some almond nuts, buy some chicken, eat some potatoes and so on. And what is happening is that we are missing the boat completely. We're doing a good talk, but as I said, the central bank report is showing that our agriculture is going down and down and down for non-sugar agriculture. It is a significant concern. We're not taking food security seriously in Barbados. We definitely are not.
I agree. And with agricultural providing a measly 3 or 4% towards the GDP, it is absolutely ridiculous. And if it is not a red flag or red flags, I don't know what is. They're just delusional. That's the word that I decide to use. They're delusional.
Yeah.
They're delusional.
I'm gonna go to comment here by Mr. Bob, where Mr. Bob had asked a question about the greenhouses. Mr. Bob, what we can tell you is that I think that 3 are being used right now. 1 is purpose, and the rest are overgrown by bush.
Wow.
That is the information we have right now. Simon.
Yes.
We have one of the highest food import bills in the Caribbean, especially for a country that is so small. Again, they talk about food security, but yet this import bill seems to be going higher and higher and higher and higher. Where is this government's priorities?
Fanus, we have to create policies that put people first. I think that's the issue with this government. They're not creating no policy that's putting the people first. They're creating policies for optics. They're looking good in the press. All plans they're preparing for all different strategies and they put forward the sweet potato export, they put forward the black belly sheep export. They're doing all kind of different things, but they're not actually putting nothing in place to get them going. We need to get them going, and only way to get them going is to put sustainable policies in place to get the food production in Barbados going, to cut some of that food bill, that imported food bill. Throughout Barbados, we are suffering. And with the import, the prices of the food is extremely high. But if you grow local food, it will bring down the price significantly.
You would think so.
Of course, you would think so. We need to. That just feels so good driving home on evenings and I can stop on the highway and buy watermelon at $1 a pound or $1.50 a pound. It feels good. But if we had to import a watermelon, you can imagine the price.
Yeah.
You ever see the price in supermarkets of cantaloupe?
Yeah.
How expensive it does be?
Yeah.
They cut it up and they put it in a container, fancy, but very expensive. Is that sustainable for a poor family?
No.
No. So we need to get the farmers create the policies and put the people first. That is my suggestion to the Barbados Party.
Well, optics is everything, because I just heard what Simon said. And, I mean, it's been discussed in the farming community that, there are certain entities that are buying the watermelon and then selling back the watermelon at a lower price so that it would give the appearance as though there's a glut of watermelon on the market when there's not. I saw a comment. One person said that the persons are not genuine in agriculture. And I think I have a tendency to agree, because we get a lot of broken promises. We get a lot of deceitfulness and underhanded transactions, like with the watermelon, allegedly, right? Let's just say allegedly. But it gives the impression that the nation is doing well with agriculture when we really aren't. So they're showing us or telling us what they want us to see and hear, as opposed to what is really happening on the ground. And if you ask any farmer, they will tell you about the watermelons and the squash, right? But the feed program you had mentioned before, that has had its problems from the get-go, and it is still having problems. I think Comrade mentioned it just now. A further issue to what my comrade was saying is that some farmers are of the opinion that the BADMC is competing with the farmers themselves. And I don't see how the government could think that that would be a good idea. But, you know, we're here to discuss solutions. And as Comrade said, we can't give all the solutions, but the Democratic Labour Party has a solution for agriculture, which this government does not. So we have some that we will get to say. You know, we do have our manifestos and we keep those things guarded, but at the end of the day, we are here to provide solutions. Me, myself, I'm a small fish, but I started this Grow Barbados project, which the Democratic Labour Party is definitely 100% behind. And the idea is that we want people to grow their own food. We have to start from home. We also have to start in the schools. And I think we need to plant the seeds of agriculture in the minds of the youth. And the Grow Barbados project is doing just that. Every primary school, every secondary school needs to have a food garden, right? Other than just building character and creating a space for the school and the children themselves and the teachers to learn about planting, harvesting, growing, and marketing, it also can help with respect to food security. It can also help subsidize the school meals program once we get it up and running and it's growing. I went to Lodge School recently. Up there was beautiful. I was so encouraged. I'm an old Lodge girl, so I was very encouraged in terms of what they're doing there with their agricultural science department. And the Grow Barbados project will facilitate offering the seedlings and, you know, helping the students in terms of, well, I had a pitch idea, because you're teaching the students from seed to sale, not only just growing, harvesting, you know, innovative ideas about business and how they could promote the sales for the produce that they grow. You know, home ec department can grow stuff, can make the foods, can have a showcase. There's so many ideas, but you just have to be genuine and not looking for clickbait and pictures. You have to be interested in the people, as Simon said, people focused.
Amoy, I don't mean to, I don't want to cut this theme or anything, but school programs can work, especially when schools are open. You see, part of the problem here is that this government seems to be finding it difficult keeping schools open. Very often, a lot of these schools are closed for a lot of different reasons. Just imagine you have a gardening program at a school, and then some environmental issue pops up and the school is closed for 2 weeks. But then you get back to the garden is bush. So for these projects to work, for these initiatives to work, we need to have school working like how school's supposed to work, where the children go off for break and come back in and work for a whole term, right? But under this government, the schools don't stay open very long. So the reality is that the initiative is a good initiative. My fear is that some schools now, because you go to school this week and next week, a big environmental issue pops up and school is closed for 2 or 3 weeks for cleaning. So nobody's at the school and the garden project goes out of control. So what I'm saying is that all these initiatives can work under the Democratic Labour Party because we care about schools. Schools stay open under the Democratic Labour Party. For some reason, I don't understand why this government can't keep schools open. I'm concerned that the learning, teaching experience in Barbados is on the trend. I'm concerned that the learning, teaching experience is not consistent because schools are not staying open consistently. So the initiative for the gardens can work only in a situation where the school plants are open at the times they're supposed to be open and not shut down for environmental cleaning or something. So the reality is that it can work. I'm not trying to pour water on it, but I'm saying it will work on the Democratic Labour Party.
Yes, because under the Democratic Labour Party, we understand that the Ministry of Agriculture cannot work in a vacuum. It has to work hand in hand with the Ministry of Education, with the Ministry of People and Empowerment, Community, Ministry of Environment. We understand that we have to organize ourselves as a collective. What we are seeing from the Barbados Labour Party is not that.
You know, they said that one of their intentions was to lower the import bill by 35%, right? And because they're not meeting that benchmark, we are spending more and more of our foreign exchange in buying food from outside of Barbados. And I don't think Indar Weir realizes what he's doing, because he's saying, you know, we're gonna lower the price of food by the production of food by 35%. Have more pumpkins and potatoes and onions. Onions is another story altogether. We've completely messed up our onion production in Barbados, and we're now importing millions of onions per annum. So there's obviously some disconnect between what the government is saying and what they're promising. Now, he said they will lower the bill. That's what he said. Look and see what the numbers are showing. Something completely different. And we have to be careful not to tolerate this any longer. I realize that they keep going with this thing, punching above our weight, But the sugar plantations still have sugar, and you can check it. The sugar plantations still have sugar stored from the crop from 2024. And I want somebody to go and tell me tomorrow on Brass Stacks, or anybody on our program watching tonight, tell us how much of the sugar is still being stored from 2025, right? Guyanese sugar is cheaper, and I don't want to make anybody afraid, but for the last 3 years, find out if a HACCP, a health inspection, has been done, and somebody give me the answer to this question, whether a health inspection has been done at Portville, and if they're ISO compliant. I'm not saying that anything's happening. I just want somebody to answer that question for me, and you'll see the result of that question. It needs to be investigated. We need to be having quality sugar in a quality environment, using high quality science and so on. And I'm personally very concerned about it.
So, lady and gentlemen, you all have me here in a tizzy right now, because you brought up two things that I really want to focus on. So I want to go back to the co-op energy collapse. I want to touch that. But Amoy said something very interesting in regards to the schools, and then David had followed on to that. We hear about this educational reform that they get, that the government wants to impact on us. They keep talking about it, but it sounds as too academic. It doesn't sound like if there was much research that gone into it, any analysis that the application and then the assessment will yield any form of results that are favorable. In regards to our agriculture situation, I believe that we really need to get schools and education involved in that. Do you think we need to have a rethink in how we approach how schools, in regards to curricula, how schools approach agriculture, and now regarding our food security and so on?
Oh, completely. As I'll say it again, every primary school and every secondary school needs to have an agricultural program. The agricultural program has to be a part of the school syllabus, starting from the smallest, coming right up. It makes no sense waiting until persons get to Barbados Community College or the University of the West Indies to try to encourage them to get into agriculture. Start from small. Make agriculture attractive, right? Make it attractive. You have to, because our farmers are old. Our farmers are dying. Persons are swapping out farming for other careers. Some of the landowners for the most arable lands are switching out, being paid out, selling out. I don't want to say selling out, but literally selling out.
Because I could envision where our rural schools, those schools that are in the country,
Mm-hmm.
I could really envision them with a couple acres of land, and
Mhm.
they have this robust agricultural curriculum, and you know they're producing their food and they're contributing and making money from the, you know,
Yeah.
and even if they go into like products like making jams or
Mhm.
or from produce and so on, I could really see it, but it just seems like this government doesn't have the
And not only rural schools, I want every primary school. So even schools in town, where we in the concrete jungle, but we have to look at different ways that we can make sure that we have school gardens, whether it be hydroponics, whether it be in containers, whether we decide to take a roof and turn it into a rooftop garden. These things can be done, but the focus needs to be on agriculture. The focus needs to be on people. It needs to be people focused. And right now, the government is not focused on agriculture, the farmers, farming, the people. The government doesn't care, as Comrade said, the government does not care about agriculture. And actions speak louder than words.
So, Paul, you open a can of worms with the sugar topic that you just led into. You want to gonna explore on that some more?
Sure. You probably, and I know, I mean, this is a more area, but I know it affects us all because it's a Barbadian disaster. The Minister of Agriculture stated on July 2024.
Yeah.
He said this will be the last year that the government will be providing support in terms of financing the sugar industry. That's what he announced, right? Then he went and gave them $4 million between 2023 and 2024, right? And then came back this year, and for some reason they were able to find $50 million, and we still cannot find out how it's getting to the industry. They're giving $50 million to the sugar industry, even though he said that was supposed to be the last year that they're supporting it. I don't know what's going on, but the other thing is the cooperative, as we know, was supposed to be doing working with the BASL to form this group.
That's Barbados Sugar Industries Limited.
Right, the Barbados Sugar Industries Limited was supposed, right, and they were supposed to give an asset register to say this is what the assets of sugar represent in terms of dollars, so that the cooperative could take that money, could give their $4 million. But they up to now they have not given them the value of the sugar industry. Now, why is that important? They were supposed to give a total of $16 million to this industry, to this new project. But they're unable to do it because they have no valuation of the assets of the industry. And so the Minister of Agriculture was saying, oh, well, they didn't give their promised $4 million, but how can you give $4 million and you don't know what you're giving $4 million to? Does that make any sense?
No.
Makes no sense. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and if you don't mind me, Amoy, if you look at the sugar output for the last 3 years, we are having a situation where the sugar output is per acreage is going down, and it's not making any sense, and the cost of producing sugar is getting higher. So the matrix, is something is wrong with it. And what I'm saying is that the Democratic Labour Party is calling on the government to get this thing right. We are taking the taxpayers' money, giving money to an industry that the minister said will not be taking any more money for the taxpayers in agreement with the IMF promise. Because the reason why they were shutting down the BAMC was because the IMF told them, look, take it off the books, it's costing too much money.
Yeah.
But now we have the plantocracy again being funded by the government in 2025. And they were supposed to come off the nipple. They were supposed to end that relationship between the government and themselves. And so we are in a situation where promises are being made payments are being made, and they're totally being crashed and burned in respect to the sugar industry. They need to do better.
Just one point, finance adding on to the sugar industry. This government has failed to look at what we call the value-added products. I think Barbados have immense potential to lead the Caribbean when we look at value-added products, especially rum.
Yeah.
Barbados is leading not only Caribbean but the world in relation to rum. And I think that I have a very important role to play with respect to the sugar industry. We need to get it right. Paul, I'm sure you agree with me that there are over 1,000 workers.
Yes.
That we allegedly not being paid.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Have not been paid.
That's
over 1,000 workers.
1,100. Not paid up to now.
Have not been paid up to now.
Yes.
Is this fear? Is this fear to Barbadians? Is this a government that cares about agriculture? I am saying no. We need to take agriculture serious in Barbados. Very serious. Pay the workers.
Simon, I want to stick with you.
Yes.
I want to shift focus now to predial larceny.
Yes.
Where that it seems like the government, they're not listening to the farmers. They're saying that the theft of crops is a very serious issues for them. We can get to the monkeys, because the monkeys is a whole different issue altogether. And I think Amoy will tell you about the monkeys in a whole paragraph herself. But the theft of crops. Imagine you as a farmer. You work hard, you toil, you spent your money, your resources into bringing a crop, and as soon as it comes, as it gets just about ready for harvest,
yes,
someone comes and they just dig it up, and then all of that money that you put into it is gone. Where is the government in regards to standing by farmers in regards to predial larceny?
Yes. And this is not only about the theft of crops, there's also a theft of the livestock. As you would have seen recently on social media, they passing a car to a sheep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Inside the vehicle very fast before they want to get there. So it's also theft of livestock. But the theft of crops and the theft of livestock have become a serious threat in Barbados. Yes, there's legislation with respect to it. I think it is I have it somewhere here listed. The Protection of Agricultural Products and Livestock Act.
Yeah.
But somewhat I am of the view that the penalties in this legislation is a bit too lenient. And we also have to look at repeat offenders. Majority of the time, the offender for respect to predial larceny are repeat offenders. So we need some harsher penalties with respect to predial larceny. We need to address the issue of predial larceny. We need to look at security systems for the farmers, and not only security system for the farmers, but also to ensure the products of the farmers. There needs to be something put in place. We find money to do a lot of things in Barbados. We should also find money to ensure these products, especially when they are stolen, when farmers work tirelessly and hard on us, day in and day out, whether it be a small farm or a large entity. It needs to be insured.
Yeah.
So there are two things that we put in place. The Democratic Labour Party are committed to doing them, and that is putting a security system for farmers in place, probably some more CCTV, and also to assign some police officers to patrol these rural areas some more. There's a shortage of police, but we're asking for them to patrol the areas some more. At least if the potential offenders see the police patrolling, they will take a step back or try to take a step back.
Okay, I wanna just read Comrade Maxine McLean's comment, and then just let you guys flow back into the conversation. The government has not been above board with the co-op. This is particularly unfortunate after a promise was made to make past and present sugar workers shareholders in the industry. And
yeah, well, we've seen that is just bogus. Right, and we not even, we don't even have to embellish or say anything about that. These facts speak for themselves, because the position of which the sugar, the position of which the co-op is in now, and the sugar workers, as Simon just said, some of them have not been paid. And with respect to the shareholders and the shareholdings, well, what you can say is the government has tried to position itself so that, when it does take off, or they said that when they were changing the sugar industry into an energy industry, right, and that Bajans or Barbadians would be the owners of this new industry, that was a farce.
Yeah.
That definitely was a farce. So yes, Comrade Maxine McLean is very correct.
I wanna, David.
Oh, yeah, that. All right.
This,
I
before
like radio larceny, you know. I like because
Okay.
it's easy to deal with.
yeah.
Radio larceny is easy to deal with. The reality is, right? When it came to the tent law, you got penalties. When it comes to the cyber, the cyber thing that came about, penalties. When it came to the bed and breakfast, the thing, they got big penalties, $250,000.
Yeah.
So what happened to the farmers? If the farmers were really important to this government, they got big penalties from thieves too. That's the reality. So you keep making support at the farmers. You won't pay the workers in sugar industry. You won't deal with the contracts that you promised the sugar workers. The reality is that security is not difficult. As Simon said, more police patrols. But we in the modern age, by next year they say we're going cashless. You don't need the police in the ground to watch the ground. There's something called drones. And we have modern drones. You can put a drone to patrol your ground a whole night.
Yeah.
You get two drones, one get battery low, the other one take off, and they go and patrol your ground a whole night. And if you feel you can arm the drone, ask the permission to arm the drone.
To do that.
The reality is that technology is there. The farmers, the government needs to sit with the farmers that they really care about the farmers. And something can be worked out where permission can be granted to farmers who are seriously into farming and who are constantly losing their produce to these criminals. Government can give them permission to import drones for security of their properties. Right? The fines, you can upgrade the fines. One of my constituents said that you can also give the farmers firearms. I ain't gonna go with that. I don't think you should give the farmers firearms. I think we should try the drones first. I think we should try the police first, then the drones, and then maybe other smaller cameras, whatever. But the reality is that if this government was serious about farming, about farmers, about agriculture in Barbados, we didn't be here talking the foolishness about all this nonsense that's going on.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. They don't care about the farming community in Barbados. They don't care. Their only interest is tourism.
And we gatherings.
No, tourism, regathering, and posing all over the place. They're superstars. We have a government of superstars. The reality is that things that the average persons use for a living, things that we depend on for a living, this government don't care about. Otherwise, we would not be in here discussing the issues that are affecting the farmers. There are other issues, you know, but I don't want to introduce these other issues because there's other issues about agriculture that needs to be taken care of. You see our water supply?
Yeah.
There need to be proper management of chemicals in Barbados. There needs to be proper management of chemicals in Barbados. The importation of chemicals in Barbados needs to be properly regulated and policed. Otherwise, that too can become an issue. And I suspect soon, very soon, it will become an issue.
To your point, David, I would agree with you because what's happening now is that remember we talk about this deluge of water that comes every year.
Yeah.
It washing the
Fertilizers
all the way down to the ocean. And we're having a lot of reef destruction because of it. Right? It's actually destroying a lot of the reefs. So to your point, you're making a very good point. There needs to be a balance between the environment, the chemicals, and how we're approaching agriculture. And because it's going to destroy both the ocean and which is also the ocean is also a place of agriculture.
Yes.
It is.
Right? In my constituency, agriculture in St. James Central, I have a guy that calls me and says, Paul, I got sprats. we got tiger fish, we have jacks, red, snappers and so on, because that's a very significant industry. And not only are we destroying the land, but the chemicals that we're selecting are destroying the ocean and the reefs. So it is a real thing. We have to get it right. And we are getting the most of our loans in Barbados for environmental protection and environmental development. What a paradox. What an irony. And what are we doing?
You just made me think about agriculture and environment with respect to my constituency, Christchurch East, in Gibbons Bogs. Many years ago, there was the Shell jet fuel oil spillage, which poisoned a lot of the agricultural land in the farming belt, Gibbons Bogs area. Up to this day, some farmers have not been compensated. Some farmers has died without being compensated, without the matter being resolved. I think this September that just passed, they're still in court. And these are issues that the government never truly addressed up front and center. So agriculture, environment go hand in hand. Agriculture, the environment, and education, community go hand in hand. Ministries cannot work in a vacuum. They must work together.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to actually focus on solutions. I really don't want to, how should I say, divulge our entire manifesto, right? But I believe that this panel has great ideas that can be touched on the surface, that can be touched on the surface. Amoy, your program, it was the
Grow Barbados.
Grow Barbados.
We need to grow Barbados, literally grow Barbados. I mean, everybody doesn't have a backyard. Everybody doesn't have a front yard where they're able to, put a few beds. You have a porch, pot planting, a half-cut drum, something. Start. Just start.
And as a government, we would provide the necessary support and to help those individuals.
Oh, for sure. I would like to see the day when I could say, well, every person that has the space, or every person that is, before I get to that, before I divulge that, I heard when I was coming up this evening that they were doing a plant a tree competition now. The government has come up with plant a tree. Be that as it may, I think it needs to have programs of more substance, right? Programs that will have longevity to them, programs that will continue to turn over as generations of students pass through schools, as the idea plants in the seeds of the youth's head. People say, oh, youth are no longer interested in agriculture. And that may be true for some demographics, but I see youth that are very, very interested, but they do not have the funds. They need the support. They need the assistance, the government intervention. It's not just as simple as giving you an acre of land and telling you, all right, go along. You need the assistance, whether it be financial, whether it be with the products, the seeds. I don't know. I don't think that this government is very genuine. As Comrade said, this government don't care about agriculture. It's all for likes.
I want to add to what you're saying, because coming to the question you're asking, Fanus, people forget that agriculture is a science. And one of our speakers mentioned that tonight on the television.
Pedro German agriculture is also a science.
It's also science.
Yeah.
And you're looking at research, seed production, water harvesting, and all these different things. You're looking at the biological aspect, where the fungi that destroy the pawpaw plants, and the
sweet potato
slips, and so there's a whole lot of moving parts in this living organism called agriculture. And I don't know if we are currently investing in our scientists. I know the department traditionally has very good technocrats in that department, some excellent standard bearers in terms of management of agriculture in the agriculture department. Now, I am understanding that some of them are retiring, some of them are moving on. And the question is, are we replenishing those departments with the scientists, with the research, with technology, with the equipment that's required to make sure that we are in the first world when it comes to our agriculture department? It's not talk. This is a science, and science means that is an increasing, growing, evolving body of knowledge. It never. So you may have pumpkin that what do you call this thing? That I love so much, pawpaw. You may have a pawpaw now that is growing nice and big and so on and so forth. And like COVID, some virus, something just comes and attack that tree, and you now have to go and research and find solutions so that we can have trees that are not affected by that virus. So it's an ongoing, evolving body of knowledge, and this is where the Democratic Labour Party wants to see agriculture go again. This is what we want to where we want to give scholarships for people doing agriculture, so that we can take care of our own food security. We want to do animal husbandry, plant science, and then of course environmental protection of the land, so that we can have it fertile for generations to come. It's not just about this generation; it's about the future. And this is why the building of hotels, we have to be very careful with that too, because concrete covers the land, and that concrete is not coming up for years. So it means that you will take away, you're taking agricultural land away from Barbadians in the future.
David, when these gentlemen talk about agriculture and solutions, obviously the Democratic Labour Party has to be the body, the government that will bring solutions to agriculture. I can assure Barbadians that a Democratic Labour Party government with a Minister of Agriculture called Amoy Gilding-Bourne, and my assistant, and Paul Gibson, and Simon, and everybody else that will chip in. We have more than just ideas. We have knowledge of agriculture, and we understand the needs of agriculture in Barbados. And like Paul said, the environmental aspects and the security that is needed to secure the element that is most important, the water. Because you can do agriculture and you can do it well, and you can end up damaging the water supply. The Democratic Labour Party has a solution for agriculture in Barbados. I want to say that, and I don't think I can say enough. You remember the salt plant ideas? Excellent idea. I'm now back to this, the salt versus sewage. We need to stick to the more environmentally safe systems, not only for agriculture, but for the people of Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party cares. They care about the people of Barbados. We care about the people of Barbados. And the reality is that when we bring solutions, there are solutions that are sustainable and are safe to the people of Barbados. So the reality is that this government has agriculture in a nosedive. As you mentioned, Paul, agriculture is in a nosedive right now. Barbadians, you need to give us a chance to bring recovery to agriculture in Barbados. We cannot afford not to have agriculture in Barbados working at its optimum. We can provide food for ourselves. We, the Democratic Labour Party, want to give agriculture resuscitation. We want to resuscitate agriculture. We want to be able to feed ourselves as much as possible. We want to reduce the food import bill. I don't trust foreign imported food. I want my food grown in Barbados. And I'm sure that if not all Barbadians, most Barbadians prefer to eat food grown in Barbados. So the reality is, Damien, is that we, the Democratic Labour Party, have a plan for agriculture. And when the bell rings, remember, food comes first. That's what Carmita Fraser said. And if you can't feed yourself, you're at the mercy of other people. I don't like that. I want to know that I can eat homegrown food.
Simon, as it relates to a solution, especially in our rural communities and the community itself, where do you see the solution coming up in regards to the community?
What I can say that is a government that abandons its farmers, abandons its people. I want to start there first. Agriculture has always been a pillar in our economy and culture. I see agriculture as the engine to creating jobs and people livelihoods, and most importantly, food security within the community. Food security within the community. We need to train and develop young persons, as we spoke about earlier, with respect to agriculture. We need to get it back into the schools, so we need to train them, not only to see agriculture as a way of life, but as a business, as a career. We need to get that into young persons' minds, first and foremost. So we need to get it back into curriculum within the educational system. So it's all about policies. But when we are creating these policies, I'm asking, and I'm sure the Democratic Labour Party is committed to creating policies for people. We need to create policies for people. We have to put people at the forefront of our solutions. And that is what the Democratic Labour Party is committed to doing. We need to look at the young persons. We need to get them trained from raw materials to up to the consumer. Some young persons have small farms, they grow the produce, but then they can't get themselves, get frustrated, and just walk away from farming. We need to create something that these young persons, when they work hard and they create the produce, good produce, natural produce, not the sprays and stuff, that they can get themselves. We need them to get themselves. So we need to create some sort of society, maybe a community society, maybe a community co-op that would help these young persons take these produce to the co-op and get themselves, even at a reduced price. I don't think young persons will make. So we need to sit down, we need to look at the policies, and we need to get it right. That is the main solution. The policies is at the forefront of getting agriculture going again in Barbados.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I just had a thought, because I was telling myself, well, if there are more opportunities for young people, then crime would obviously go down.
Definitely.
We're getting rid of the land.
Yes.
So there's less land for less young people to find opportunities.
Yes.
So if we reverse this trend of just taking up the land and repurposing it and then putting it in the hands of our young people, we should see basically a reduction in crime, because you have more young people now getting into farming. Obviously, it will help us with our food resource. Predator larceny might actually drop, because obviously then if you have, then you don't have to take away and then go and sell.
Yes.
So would this initiative impact our crime situation? Do you see it as one thing that can impact our crime situation?
Definitely, you have to agree with you, Fanus, that it will impact our crime situation. It will reduce the crime significantly. The young people will be engaged in something positive within the community, and I'm sure that they will bring all their friends, and the crime level will go down. Once young people feel unforgotten or unforeseen, this is when crime steps up. It is the truth. It's the reality.
And just to add to what Simon is saying with respect to agriculture and the youth, yes, definitely we have to get the youth involved. And I think, yes, there is a connection with respect to lowering or decreasing in crime. Also, we have to consider that when we get persons growing, students, teachers, parents, the average Joe on the street, the cost of food can come down. If we are able to be, as opposed to saying food secure or food security, and we consider food sovereignty, where we are able to feed ourselves. And I think that would also help decrease crime, because people will then be able to eat. A hungry man is an angry man. And I don't know if any of you agree with me, but I think right now the nation, a lot of people are angry, a lot of people are depressed, a lot of people are upset about where the government and the nation is right now. You know, people need work. People are hungry.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to spell out, make people feel as though this is the last days, but we really need to pay attention to this food security problem that we're having. As Comrade said, agriculture is taking a nosedive, and if we're not careful, we are going to perish. If we do not produce, we will perish.
Amoy, but these are the last days. These are the last days of the Barbados Park.
Well, I can agree with that,
The
sir.
reality is that you want our culture to work in Barbados. Do you want our culture to work in Barbados? Make it profitable. That's all. All we have to do is make agriculture profitable. For some reason, somebody don't want to make it profitable. How to make agriculture profitable? Anybody got a chalkboard? I'm a teacher. Anybody got a chalkboard? All right, let me teach y'all how to make agriculture profitable. Reduce the cost of agricultural inputs. Set up a seed propagating plant where you can propagate the seeds into seedlings and offer to the schools and the other young people. Give them a start. Set up a start package, which would include seedlings. Like I said, take taxes off the inputs, reduce the taxes, take off some of agricultural inputs. The idea is that the more you put into a product, the more expensive the product is going to be. And it's simple mathematics. If you put in 1, 5, 10, how much that's about? Yeah. 16. But if you put in 16 inputs, inputs costing $16, you got to add $16 to the cost of your product. Suppose that you put in $3 into the cost of the product. Your product has already gone down. I can't do percentage on my head like that, but you're down $13 cheaper. But the reality is that to make agriculture worthwhile, the cost to produce must come down. Otherwise, you go buy fertilizers, and in some cases, some of the fertilizers that we use aren't even very good for the soil. Some of the fertilizers we use become toxic in the soil and kill the microbes in the soil. The microorganisms that are needed to help the plants uptake the minerals. Right? So the nutrients, the micronutrients and the macronutrients. So the reality is that we have to make agriculture worthwhile for it to work in Barbados. Feed program, we have to find a way to produce feeds that are cost worthy, cost effective. Otherwise, we just don't we can pay $50 for a chicken though. And that's the reality. Because the input cost is too high. For some reason, it is cheaper to bring in stuff into Barbados and sell it in Barbados than to produce it in Barbados. Agriculture will go nowhere like that. It will go nowhere because if you can bring in a finished product into Barbados cheaper than a Bajan can produce it, obviously the Bajan will always struggle to get his product sold.
Like what's happening with the Guyanese sugar
and
right
the
now.
milk that we saw last year with the milk.
Guyanese sugar is cheaper than Barbadian sugar.
So the reality is that the only way agriculture is going to be of any value in Barbados, the only way that I would want to set up a farm to produce items to sell in Barbados is if I can produce these items cheaper than the fellows with the big warehouses can import. Because then I will always be competing against the warehouses. I will always be on my heels. I will always be on my back foot because I will never be able to outsell these fellas that are bringing in the produce cheap.
It's true.
Never. And agriculture can never flourish in an environment like that.
And you would never get a guarantee from the government.
So the reality is that we must make our agriculture more attractive by making it more cost effective. Other than that, we're wasting time. We're going to eat a lot of foods that come from places that we don't know anything about. And when you hear about a product can't recall, you know a lot of people will be sick by then. So the reality is that we need to, for food security, we need to be producing our own foods. Simple as that.
What about the when you do what you just said, which is really the way forward, and Madam Minister, you realize that you get more food being produced, and you get more food being sold. You may even have enough output to export. So we're not only talking about food security for Barbados. You with the plan that you have, you lower the inputs, you lower the water costs, you use the right you protect your soil, and you use the right fertilizers and so on, and then you produce enough so that Barbadians can eat and buy more, and that's when it becomes profitable because people are buying local, and then you find something to export, but for some reason we always seem to crash and burn. I mean, there was a situation where the BM AC had a prawn project in Barbados.
That failed miserably.
They invested $1 million.
And
$1 million Barbados of the taxpayers dollars.
like cowboys eat now.
Not a prawn. Not one prawn.
Cowboys
$1
eat
million,
now.
you know how many people can get fed? But the reality, and I'm gonna get back to what Amoy was saying earlier about Barbadians being hungry. When you see a little boy going to school and all he can have before school is a little chubby or a Coke, because his mother cannot afford a guava, a mango, or a guava, a mango, something to cook a sweet potato.
Nourishing food.
But all he can drink is a Coca-Cola that will destroy his gut.
Yeah.
Right? And then he can go through the whole day and come back home to nothing to eat. We are not realizing that a lot of Barbadians are experiencing this. Not only can they not pay the light bill, the gas bill, but they can't buy food for the babies. And then we're encouraging people, Fanus, to get more children. What a paradox.
Delusional.
Yeah.
Right? And we are operating in a heavily capitalist society in Barbados now, where the wealthy are being propped up by government contracts
and concessions.
And a mother and a father are trying to feed the children. I want that to sink in for a little bit. Agriculture is not just about agriculture. Before, when I was young, we make bakes. Right? You make sugar bakes. You can't even buy flour nowadays sometimes. You should be able to make bakes. I don't know.
Paul, if I may, you remember that this government is a real oxymoron. This is an oxymoron. Government has made or came up with the idea that they will make unhealthy food expensive, so to deter people from eating unhealthy food. You know the reason people eat unhealthy food in Barbados? Because they can't afford healthy food.
Yes.
But you just make unhealthy food more expensive. So in essence, what you just did is stop them from eating altogether. And this is how this government thinks. This is how the think tank of this government work. You don't want people to. You care so much about people. They can't afford healthy food, so they got to buy a lot of ramens and macaronis and things. They got to buy what they can afford.
Yes.
But you want to make what they can afford now more expensive. Not you want to. You have made what they can afford more expensive by adding more taxes onto it. The sugary foods they make more expensive. The chubby or these different things cost a lot more than they used to cost. So now the foods that they can afford, they can't afford. So they can't eat healthy or unhealthy. You're simply killing the people. That's the reality.
Wow.
That is the essence of what this government has done to people in Barbados.
I remember that initiative was started so that out of a health concern, because you didn't want these people coming with a lot of
NCDs.
NCDs So then it was started thinking, oh well, a lot of people, we don't want to put this strain on the healthcare system. So then now you basically killing people.
So good, Damien. They're not. They will do this. I love this government. What I love about this government is that they do silly things
Mm-hmm.
and think they're doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to reduce NCDs,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to reduce NCDs by starving people. So obviously the government can start some sort of undertaker business,
Mm-hmm.
because you can kill people and you can't eat. You can die. You're going to die. The reality is you're starving people. That's what this government is doing to Barbadians. And become a wake up. And all these plans to open borders and things for the sake of electioneering.
Mm.
All these things are subverting our political system in Barbados. I know that's a different topic for another night.
Yeah.
But that's the reality. The reality is that if because Bajans are fed up with the nonsense this government has been doing, we cannot allow them to subvert our political system.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people that you can bring in here and let them do what they got to do in a couple of days from landing here, they don't know anything about what we're going through. So in truth and in fact, what they're doing is subverting our political system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair to us. We live here forever.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
not fair to us.
And with already strained food sources, people have to come and eat as well too.
Yeah.
So how are you if you're barely propping up the agriculture upon shaky legs? So now you're saying, oh, come here, but the systems are basically failing health, agriculture. You know.
Like I said, Damien, obviously that's the topic that goes away from agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that we can't. I love my Caribbean neighbors. As long as I have been alive, I've been alive for a long time. Damien.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around for probably more than 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around for a long time. But the reality is that I have friends from all over the Caribbean. I don't want to say this on TV, but I even had a girlfriend from a different island.
Mm.
So my Caribbean neighbors have always been welcome here.
Yes.
Here.
And for this government to make people believe that they're doing our neighbors a favor.
This novel thing that all of a sudden,
And it's such a novel thing.
It's not.
It is not. Caribbean people have been in Barbados for as long as I've been alive. And you know I've been alive a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that this idea about opening borders on my birthday and
Illegally.
putting on a big show, that's nonsense.
Mhm.
We have always welcomed our neighbors to Barbados forever.
Yes.
As a justice to the peace, I remember signing documents for people to get citizenship here.
So it's like owning a chicken and then repackaging it as a cat, basically. But the point is, it's
obviously there's a repackaging going on, and
same thing.
for those who don't know or understand, to them it's a novel thing. There's nothing novel about Caribbean unity.
Caribbean movement.
There's nothing novel about Caribbean unity. It has been going on. My great grandmother came from Guyana.
Yeah.
So I know about this thing. I got Guyanese blood flowing in me.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that when our prime minister get and do a song and dance about key opening, this is clearly a move to subvert our political system.
Yeah,
this is clearly a move to she's losing popularity. Man, you're losing popularity, and you obviously want to bring in votes.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That's how people out there are seeing this thing. That's the reality. The reality is that this whole move is because they're just tired of you, man. They're tired. They're tired of the hardships. They're tired of the high cost in the supermarket. They're tired of the high cost of petrol. They're tired of all of the. We are tired. Pages are tired. People in St. George North are tired. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for moving this program off of the base. But the truth is, people are tired. We need answers for all the death. I just lost 2 of my children from the garrison school. I went to a funeral this evening. One of my children from the garrison school, 37 years old, lost another one. I'm tired. We need answers to what's happening in Barbados. Deal with the issues.
Yes.
Deal with the issues. Deal with what is happening to the people of Barbados. And stop making sport. And this thing go carry fest thing, and a lot of money. And just know when they come and blow down everything up there. You mark my word. A lot of nonsense.
And we still don't know how much they spent.
And we still don't know how much they spent on it.
Actually, the creatives are even saying that up till now they still have not been paid. They've not been paid.
Damien, I can interject here. I'm not a hog normally, but you know, it's the metaphor. The reality is, right? People not being paid and all these things. You all need to open your mouths and start to let the Prime Minister know that you're unhappy. The problem is that a lot of people who are unhappy in Barbados are keeping quiet. We have somebody in Barbados spotting like all about Barbados. You remember that? Spot delay. And this is spot delay. What happened to the delay? The Barbados gone low. You don't hear nothing about spot delay no more in Barbados. We got serious issues in Barbados, and everybody afraid to offend. This is a democracy.
Tell the truth.
We need to be honest. If you're in pain, say you're in pain. If I stand up on your toe, say, boy, get off my foot, you're going to let me crash off your toe.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Barbados. People are not talking. They're not speaking up to what's happening to them in this country. And the issue of agriculture is one, obviously, but there are too many issues that needs
addressing
the light spotting on them.
Yeah.
And we can't go on stepping around like we on hot coals and pretending and being afraid to talk. I'm tired of being afraid to talk. I never used to talk. I was quiet.
That's
I'm
hard.
tired of being quiet though.
That's hard.
This government needs to go. This Prime Minister needs to step out, step back, and let somebody run this country in the right direction. We obviously have lost our direction. There's no buts about it. And they just need to stop being, you know what worries me most? Let me tell you what worries me most. What worries me most is that when a man or a woman is not talking, my fear is that when I can use simple Bajan language, when he busts out, it don't be pretty enough. I want Bajans to talk because I don't want the problems go here. The reality is we need to vent. We need to let each other know what is happening to us, but we need to allow the leaders, the people we have voted into to run this country, understand that they're not doing a good job. We want them to understand that the people in St. George North are fed up with the fact that they have a representative who is like a anomaly. Nobody sees.
We're ready.
The reality is that we have had enough. I have had enough, and as a constituent, I can tell you something. It's hard for me to, and I've been meeting people who are at wit's end. And something has to happen, something has to give. And tonight, I have to say, they just need to start to talk. Because if you don't talk, you will be tempted to do something else. I don't want you to do something else. Talk about it. Get it off your chest.
Get it off your chest.
Get it off your chest.
The DLP is ready. The Democratic Labour Party is ready. People are frustrated, and the DLP is here for the people of Barbados. We're not just about good policies. We did a fantastic crime policy, which we gave to the government to use to help them wrestle crime to the ground. We're giving proposals tonight through Amoy and the team with respect to agriculture. We raved against the wiretapping bill, the issue of Airbnb, and taking away money from grannies and pensioners and so on who are using Airbnb to make a little money. They're about to take it away from them, right? This is the work of the Democratic Party. This is what we're doing, and we're here to say that we are ready. We have a team that is ready to serve you. Don't let there be no question in your mind as to whether we are ready. We are ready. I want to make that point very clear. And we're talking about agriculture. We are saying as well that we don't have an issue with our neighbors coming to Barbados. But if our Barbadians are already feeling such pressure from the cost of food and from being able to eat and not be producing enough food and spending all of our foreign exchange on buying food, you can imagine when another 34,000 people drop here, like what happened in Dominica. Dominica has a population of 74,000. In the first year of opening their borders, they got 34,000 people came into Dominica. You know what a tectonic shift that is to your population and voting base?
Yeah.
And so we are not just saying and addressing things in agriculture and we're tapping and Airbnb. These things have implications. And the point we're making is that we have continued to call out these things for Barbadians and make them aware of it because we believe it's important. You know, what do you think? You really believe that we can continue like this?
And just to add to what you're saying in terms of their feelings, yes, I agree with Comrade. We've never had a problem with our brothers and sisters coming here. But what concerns me as well, including your concerns, is that the political or the policy and legislative framework is missing.
No consultation
They
whatsoever.
put the cart before the horse
All the
as
time.
the
All the
usual.
time.
So while I'm a CARICOM baby myself, I am very much interested and excited and an advocate for CARICOM nations between our sisters and brothers and our islands together. We have to do it correctly because as you just said, you can imagine that influx of persons coming to Barbados without that structure in place.
Already. You're not ready.
The hospital to handle it.
No.
Especially
Social
relating to
services,
Sewer
days
system,
transportation.
system, hospital. All
hospital.
these services will take the weight of an influx. And as I say, we welcome our CARICOM neighbors. As a matter of fact, there's no need to touch the legislation because people move and live here for 6 months from across the Caribbean, Jamaicans, Dominicans, Belizeans, and so on. I went to the geriatric hospital, the hospital turning, and I thought I was at the United Nations. I saw every nationality, Israeli, Japanese, working on the new geriatric hospital up there. By the way, they only have 50 new beds compared to what the old ones. So in 1 year, we'll be back where we were before. That's a different topic for different night. But we have space for people, and it is working right now. But do not mess up the thing, giving people citizenship in 9 months and just to win an election. I mean, who does that? That is bold-faced, it's blatant. It is. We are seeing you. We are seeing what you're doing. Barbadians are seeing you. Please note.
Honest voices for the people. I know the topic tonight is agriculture, but it's many comrades here went off on a different trajectory, which is always welcome. There are real issues in society. We know that food security is community security. We know that agriculture will affect other sectors when our CARICOM brothers and sisters come to Barbados, especially the health sector. We spoke earlier about the NCDs. That is very important. Who will have to pay for that? You will have to pay for that, Barbados. Your taxpayers' money will have to pay for that. You will suffer. We all will suffer.
Yes.
Agriculture is important. We are struggling already with food bill. We are struggling. There's no good policy in place. There's no proper policy in place. There's no transparency in place in the Ministry of Agriculture. None whatsoever. So I can understand where my comrades make tonight. It is frustrating.
Yes.
Not only in St. George North, David, but also in St. Philip North.
Yes.
And in Clay Churches. And in St. James Central. And all over Barbados.
All over.
People are struggling.
Struggling.
Barbados are struggling.
Oh, yes.
Let us raise Barbados.
Oh, yes.
Let us get rid of this Barbados Labour Party. Let us get agriculture back to where it was. Let us build the economy. Let agriculture be a pillar again. Let us raise Barbados. Let us raise.
So Let me first say that brought a tear to my the passion, especially you, David. I believe in your mission. I truly believe. Which brings me to this point now, that as future ministers in this government, obviously we need some, I guess, inter-minister cooperation increase. Do you believe that there should be more partnership between the ministries, not one ministry just handling just one particular topic? This is something that probably maybe the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Education, all of us coming together to address this food security problem. Should, for this particular issue, should we really be like all hands on deck from day one?
For sure. Definitely all hands on deck with regards to agriculture. As I said, Ministry of Agriculture cannot operate in a vacuum. None of the ministries should operate in a vacuum. As you said, with respect to the Ministry of Health and the prevalence of non-communicable diseases, the Ministry of Health should be working hand in hand with the Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Education should also be working hand in hand with respect to disseminating information. I mean, agriculture was within schools, within the nation itself. I don't know. It's, as Conrad said, this government is not interested in agriculture, and actions speak louder than words. It's time for change. It's time for a change.
How about you, as someone who is the spokesperson for environment? Do you see the need for increased inter-ministerial cooperation?
Absolutely, and I know for a fact that the Ministry of Environment will certainly add its value to things like mapping the soil for Barbados, getting our water zone management into shape, into devising like smart initiatives and farming, and reducing the import bill through these types of initiatives and plans. And we would also launch a national soil and water map for all of Barbados, mandating rain harvesting, incentivizing drip irrigation, and renewable energy as part of farming and to be for use in farming, and reducing the costs and energy costs and so on, which is another ministry, but we will help to reduce the costs in that regard through the environmental ministry.
Simon, as a spokesperson for community development, do you also see the increased need for inter-ministry cooperation tackling food security in Barbados?
Yes, definitely. Let me first say there's a disconnect between the government and community development in Barbados.
Yeah.
The minister just comes out and he political win address all the time. That's all he does. He don't ever deal with the issues of community development. I went on the website the other day and I saw something about spot the tree differences. We don't have time for that in Barbados. This is a serious nation. This is a serious nation. There's a need to connect between government and the community. And I'm sure that the Democratic Party is committed to connecting between the community. The issues are within the community. There need to be public consultations with the community in order to lift the community to where we know it used to be.
David, tell me how you feel about inter-ministry cooperation, sir. Tell me how you feel.
Damien, inter-ministry cooperation is going to be vital. Even the Ministry of Housing must be involved. If you can create spaces and we can incorporate spaces even in housing development for agriculture. I am particularly interested, and it's something I highlighted years ago at St. George North in a different capacity when it was with the thing that nobody found that I did.
BMAC?
No, anyway, it was the
150 years.
anyhow 150 years. Yeah. What I'm saying is that I had highlighted then the use of hydroponics. I'm a soil-based person. I understand soil-based, not for it. It's something that David Thompson has started years ago when Kirk Humphrey was in charge of it. The community initiative. And I understand the value of soil-based agriculture based on my studies on soil and soil needs and plant needs and nutrients, micronutrients and microbial, the use of microbes, beneficial microbes to help with the values in the crops, because you can grow crops that can be quite useless, but you can grow crops with high values of nutrients that can be good.
Yeah.
So, but I also understand the value of hydroponics in areas where there's not much land, right? Even you can do hydroponics even on a slab of cement, and you can produce just a lot of different types of crops in hydroponics and in container farming and in containers. Now, I'm not just talking about the 20-foot or 40-foot container farming, but in containers instead of just using the soil. But obviously, with that kind of farming, you have to add the micronutrients and the microbes, right? But the reality is that inter-ministry, meaning that Ministry of Housing can incorporate these kind of things and the Ministry of Town Planning can incorporate these things into building into the building code, where even in the city you can have gardens.
True.
And you can produce food. Producing food is not only confined to the field. So the reality is that yes, interministry, especially education and agriculture, must cooperate. The environment must cooperate. A few years back, I remember the government had an initiative to plant trees, and driving, I passed the area where some trees were planted, and I noticed that the trees have a lot of family now, a lot of bush. So the trees aren't doing as well. So why plant trees if you're going to leave them to be killed by the bush? So all these initiatives and stuff like that must have follow up. They must have a purpose. So the reality is that the Democratic Labour Party will and must pull on the resources that I have. We got a lot of intelligent and very knowledgeable persons in Barbados in regards to agriculture. And we need to tap into these people before they're gone. We need to tap into these people before they're gone. And we need to revitalize agriculture in Barbados. And we need to make sure that all the ministries are involved. There must be a intermingling when it comes to food security in Barbados. We have to do everything possible to make sure that we can, even if we can't feed ourselves in totality, that we keep moving back towards that place where we can supply a large percentage of our own foods.
I agree. And Simon said something earlier that I just want to repeat in terms of our agricultural output and things that we have here that we don't use. I'm very passionate about the Bajan cherry, and I think that's one thing that we could really do well with respect to manufacturing or using as a product. Bajan cherry, molasses. I know we were running for time, but I really think that there are so many things that we can do for our indigenous products or produce that we just have not touched. And you know, it's a source that we can use. People recently talked about growing the cotton. No, everybody had a lot of negative things to say. I mean, Australian cotton is very, very high quality.
It is.
And the Democratic Labour Party does have a few ideas and plans with respect to the Australian cotton. But we'll continue to let the government fail until we get them out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to draw a very close observation of what you saw tonight. What you saw tonight, right, was a collection of individual ideas, personalities, not a one-man show. This is a party that fosters ideas, identity, and allows our people to express themselves, not somebody cramming something into their mouth and then they have to regurgitate it without any thought or analysis. This is a party for the people, and we can govern. So tonight, we've examined the ministry's failures, broken irrigation at Wakefield, the loss of farmland, collapse of sugar, daily struggles of farmers across the island, but we've also heard the DLP's vision, a practical plan to restore water to our fields, protection to our farmers, and pride to our people. Agriculture is not just an industry, it's a lifeline of food security. The DLP is ready to rebuild it so Barbados can once again feed itself. I thank Amoy, David, Paul, and Simon for coming and joining me tonight, and you heard the passion coming from their voices. These people are ready to serve you. The others have failed. There's no doubt about it. This government has failed in every aspect of governance. So I say to you, give us the vote. And you won't have just to watch us. We will do. We will do. Join us. So until next time, plant more, buy Bajan, secure Barbados. Good night.
We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. How you getting this? Yeah. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. One vision, one people, one destiny. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. Yeah. We all in this with Ralphie. The story. The people vex, the country tight. Ralphie step up to set things right. From Christchurch to St. Lucie, everybody know he stand for we. He watch them laws, line by line. Yeah. He said follow the law, not the head lady. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. We all in this with Ralphie. Yeah. One vision, one people, one destiny. We all in this with Ralphie. He crossed the floor to unite the country. So everybody sing in harmony. We all in this with Ralphie. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. Hey, hey. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. Hey, hey, hey. He said to the house, how you getting this? Watching the chaos, parliament in a twist. One member while another talk too fast. Ralphie step in, make sense last. The people laugh, they clap, they grin. Cause Ralphie sharp, he know how to win. The law and logic, he keep them tight. He bring order to the parliament fight. Hey, R-A-L-P-H-I-E. Hey. We all in this with Ralphie. R-A-L-P-H-I-E. Stand up tall for unity. Hey. He tell the PM you head the cabinet, not the state. So respect the law before it's too late. The legal business done on the floor, not in your mind behind closed door. He cool, collected, full of class. He use the facts and bust up, she bubble fast. He shaving down falsehood, clean and neat. Ralphie drop logic on every seat. Tourism built it, bill, now this new move. Free movement by imagination to prove no legislation to pass immigration gate. Yet you telling visitors come, citizens wait. Ralphie say hold on, let's get it straight. Law before limelight, check the man take. He watching close, the people clap. Cause Ralphie catching every trap. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. One vision, one people, one destiny. We all in this with Ralphie. He crossed the floor to unite the country. Now everybody sing in harmony. We all in this with Ralphie. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. We all in this with Ralphie. Yes, we all in this with Ralphie. 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 When the bells start twist and spin, Ralphie stepping again. When imagination start on this stage, Ralphie pull it straight. Are you getting this? saying this with Ralphie.